What's up, y'all? It's Kasim with Solutions 8, and I'm here with my 2023 predictions for Google Ads. The very first prediction isn't even mine. I'm just a sheeple, and I'm following along all of the pundits when I say that I think 2023 is going to be an economic bloodbath. And I do have some data points that are independent of what other people might be drawing against, which is the fact that we've managed $70 million in ad spend, and because of that, I can see on a micro level impacts and changes to ecosystems that under closer analysis would lend themselves to the idea that there's going to be something of a downturn or a correction. And you might say, well, maybe the correction is already built into the market. And I might say, you're probably right. If I was an economist or a good one, I'd be a wealthier person than I am. All of that to say, I think that it would be imprudent to not at least hedge your bets. At least hedge your bets. And so, that's less of a Google Ads recommendation than it is an economic recommendation. But, for a lot of businesses, you already know what that means, depending on the industry that you're in. You might be careful about hiring or fulfillment or pipeline or whatever that means for you as far as tightening your belt, tighten your belt. But what that also means is I think that as a byproduct of that, if it ends up being the case, Google's going to have to get a little bit more aggressive with the cost of traffic. And the reason that I say Google is going to get more aggressive is because obviously in an organic ecosystem, when less people advertise, the cost of traffic goes down. But Google has these arbitrary minimum thresholds, and I would anticipate those dropping. So I think you see the cost of traffic drop in certain industries because there are less people advertising in it. But then you also see the cost of traffic drop because Google begins trying to incentivize people, and because of that, they start dropping their arbitrary minimum thresholds. Now, for some industries, and again, you know what industries these are, the cost of traffic is going to there's this dead cat bounce where it actually spikes, and it spikes because it's the death rattle. It's the last hurrah. It's the Alamo. So somebody's business is going under, and they're like, all right, this is the very last thing we have to do, and we're going to go hemorrhage money. And we saw that during COVID, interestingly, in a couple of spaces. And so I'd be cautious as with anything. Google, it's interesting. Gary Vaynerchuk one time, he said, all I do for a living is day trade attention. Well, that's all you're doing with Google. You're day trading attention. And as with all things day trading, like when other people are selling, you should buy, and when other people are buying, you should sell. So that's something to pay attention to as well. As far as the tools that Google might be rolling out, we've actually seen some of Google's roadmap. They shared a presentation with us. It was like an 80-slide presentation that showed some of what's on Horizon, and I can't talk about it. So without flying in the face of the NDA that we're under, I will say that the path that Google's on is the path that Google will continue to be on. They are going to automate the daylights out of everything. Performance Max is going to continue to capture market share. I think it's going to get far more powerful. I think the controls that we're being given are going to be far more, I don't want to use the word robust because it's the wrong word. Impactful. So they're not robust because you're actually not being given more robust controls over like what the campaign does, but you're going to be given things that will allow you to make changes within the campaign that are influential to a significant degree. So think about Google's like new versus returning customer setting, for instance, more things like that, to where you're not driving, but you're telling the machine where you want it to drive. And then I'd actually be really cautious. I know these prediction videos are fun because they're fun for me because it's like there's no accountability whatsoever, right? Like if I'm right, I get to say I'm right. If I'm wrong, I just forget I shot the video. Nobody's ever going to watch this next year and be like, "Oh, so I was an idiot." And even if you are, it's it's a zero risk game for the talking head because everybody's so forgiving when it comes to like a prognosticative setting. From a practical standpoint, there's a saying that I actually heard recently, but it's a concept that I've felt for a very, 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 very long time. And it is pioneers get slaughtered, settlers prosper. Pioneers get slaughtered, settlers prosper. Um, really what that means is stop trying to be first. Stop trying to that's not the way to win. You don't need to beat your competition to the punch. As a matter of fact, if you look at every single business in existence, like Apple didn't create the first personal computer, didn't create the first tablet, didn't create the first smartphone, didn't create the first MP3 player. In most of those, or the second or the third or the fourth or the fifth, nor did they, I think like the tablet predated the iPad by, I don't know what, 5 years or 6 years or 7 years, maybe longer. Google's not the first search engine. Um, Amazon's not the first, what would you say, e-commerce consortium, whatever they're called, bad word. Um, you don't need to be first. So you don't need to think to yourself like, oh my goodness, what is Google going to do? And I got to be ready for it. Like, it's actually maybe better if when a major change or shift happens, wait. Wait for people like me to take all the bullets. I should be taking all the arrows for you. I manage $70 million in spend. Like I can actually make those mistakes and absorb them because I can spread those mistakes evenly across multiple clients that A, stand to benefit in a way that you might not, and B, aren't it's not going to be a catastrophic error for them. So unless you're in that same space, I wouldn't be I wouldn't be too aggressive with trying to capture market share in that way. Um, I think right now is a time for caution. It's a time for prudence. It's a time for uh, very intentional moves. Make very intentional moves. Measure twice, cut once. Again, tighten your belt. Be ready for anything. Um, and for those of us that are liquid, um, be ready to buy. Maybe that means buy traffic. Maybe that means buy your competitor. Um, Maybe that means buy the building you're in. I don't know. But it's when there's blood in the streets, right, is when you should be deploying. So uh, I think the next year or two, I think they're going to be really interesting. I think they're going to be category kingmakers. And I think that automation is actually going to benefit small businesses and probably inhibit agencies a little bit. Um, I'll never say the agency days are numbered because that just has never been true. Even with massive shifts in medium, um, agencies will always be a necessary evil. And I do believe we're evil, by the way. But the role of the agency is going to shift really dramatically, and I think that we're going to see that next year, and maybe more than any year since the advent of digital marketing. I think you're going to see the loss of agency control. And I don't know how bullish I am on that opinion. Here's what's really funny about me being an idiot is I actually thought that was going to be true this year too. And in a really weird way, Performance Max empowered agencies, and it really shouldn't have. It was very counterintuitive. It's like it's this thing that you can actually run yourself, but it's so fragile. It's not that it's complex, it's that it's fragile. And so what ended up happening is people aren't paying us to help solve the complexity. They're paying us to be accountable to the fragility. Because in my training, like we teach people how to run Performance Max for free, and we teach them exactly what we do. Like I hold nothing back, literally nothing. And I've got more people beating down my door to run Performance Max than I did to run Smart Shopping. And Smart Shopping was hard. Like Performance Max is in comparison, at least from a build perspective, way easier. So I could just be so wrong about that. I probably am about the agency piece. We'll see. I do think that there's going to be a major space for MarTech. I think targeting tools, governance tools, creative tools, attribution tools, AI, whatever the hell that means. I think AI is going to take a prominent position at the forefront of the marketing world. And I think for one of the very first times ever, maybe, third-party AI tools will probably find a preeminent position in the lineup. I've not been a believer up until this point, but just this year I started to see some stuff, and I'm like, oh wow, that's that's pretty cool. So, I've said for the longest time that the machines will win, and they just haven't won yet. Well, yeah, it's coming. I don't know if it's 23 per se, but I also don't think it's going to be one foul swoop. I think that, like the ability to generate AI driven creative, that could be the beachhead. Like maybe it's just gonna be death by a thousand cuts. They're just gonna take little elements away from us until, you look up and there's very little left. So we've all been waiting for this event horizon, and I mean, that's possibly not the way that works. I hope this was effective. Rooting for y'all always, truly mean it. What a fun job we have, and what an interesting world we live in. And man, the next couple of years, I feel for the people that it's going to hurt, because I've been those people, and I've even maybe more poignantly cared deeply for others that have been devastated when a shift like this happens. But that aside, and that's a big thing to set aside, by the way, I understand that. So I'm not trying to just pay it lip service before I go say my evil capitalist thing, but truly, that aside, this is the opportunity, y'all. Like, the opportunity when things are going well is obvious, and it's stable, and it's consistent, and it's easy. The opportunity when things are going poorly is not as obvious, but whoa. Like when you get it, when you nail it, if you're paying attention, I mean, those are your 100x opportunities or 1000x opportunities, and by definition and nature of opportunity, because opportunities are just problems in disguise, they're not even in disguise. That only happens when the trend line is down, and I think that that's what we're about to experience. So anyway, hope this was helpful. Appreciate it, y'all. Peace.
What's up, PPC Town Hall? Patrick Gilbert here from Adventure Media Group, talking 2023 predictions. Hope you guys are having a great Q4, getting everything ready for the holiday season. I have 3 predictions for you. The first is going to come at no surprise, but is related to AI and machine learning, and specifically our adoption of these technologies. I think 2023 is when we're all going to learn collectively how to work with this technology more productively. We're going to stop pushing back as much, and we're going to embrace it and learn how to really work effectively as marketers. In the past year, a lot of products have been put in the hands of the everyday consumer. Products like Midjourney, DALL-E, and then just over the last weekend, essentially, GPT-3. These types of tools have democratized AI by giving access to everybody in the world, where now all these different people, whether it's marketers or anybody else, are now learning how to work with and optimize and manipulate AI to achieve, whether it's creating artwork or paragraphs or whatever it might be. I think now all of us are collectively learning more about how to better work with AI, and it's going to translate into our marketing campaigns. In this coming year, I expect us to all have a better understanding and better and better respect for the work that we can do alongside AI. So things, whether it's bidding, budget decisions, media placements, attribution modeling, creative testing, anything else having to do with our digital advertising campaigns, I think all of us are going to collectively learn a whole lot more about how to leverage AI to drive better performance outcomes. The second prediction I have is related to attribution modeling. One of the issues that I see time and time again is that so many people are trying to find a single attribution model that will answer all of their marketing questions. It's never going to happen. All models are wrong, but some are helpful. And I think all of us need to understand this in 2023 if we're going to be able to actually be able to achieve our marketing goals in a more competitive and tight market that we're going to face in the coming year. So what I mean by this is we're never going to have a fully perfect solution that shows incrementality at every single level and where you should be spending your budget down to a penny and the true effectiveness of this ad versus that ad for every single sale. It just doesn't exist. But all of us can establish leading indicators and different models to understand what might be working better. And these are the sorts of things that can be in the hands of every single marketer, and we should be using this to make better marketing decisions. At the end of the day, the only attribution model that really matters is the profit that you or your client is earning. And that is ultimately how we will judge our performance. Because the reality of it is, conversion tracking has always been incorrect. But now it's just coming to a head where we're all pointing fingers at one another, trying to figure out how to make decisions. The reality of it is it'll never be perfect. We have to use our logic and our intuition and the data that we have access to make the best possible decision to drive better outcomes on an ongoing basis. The third prediction is related to creatives. For the last 15 years or so, there's been too much of an obsession and an over-reliance on Google search advertising. Very few advertisers have scaled beyond the bottom of the funnel because we've always been looking for that bottom funnel arbitrage, whether it was long tail keywords or quality score opportunities or whatever it might be. That period is now beyond us, and it is now realistic that we have to scale up funnel. And Performance Max is probably the greatest example of how we are leveraging that today for our Google ad campaigns. Creative matters more than it has over the last 15 years. And all of us are learning that, whether we're running Facebook ads, TikTok ads, or just Performance Max ads, the video assets that you're creating, the image assets you're creating, and the ad copy that you are writing now matters more than it ever has. And I think in the coming year, not only do we need to be able to produce great creative, but understand insights related to what aspects of the creative are driving performance and optimize and iterate to drive better performance. We cannot assume that all creative is created equal. You cannot say that YouTube ads do not work for me if you've never put a full budget behind developing good YouTube ads and actually testing them at scale. That's something we all need to learn about in the coming year. And all this stuff ties together because modern technology with AI, whether it's things like Midjourney, things like GPT-3, are allowing us to streamline our creative strategy. And the same thing goes for attribution. If we can understand the value of different parts of the marketing funnel in a better way to understand the halo effect that, say, a TikTok has on your bottom funnel search campaigns, then you're going to be able to allocate more budget to these types of initiatives. So all these things together, our understanding and adoption of AI, our understanding and better use of attribution modeling, and our doubling down on the quality and the importance of quality creative. These three things are going to work together to create a flywheel of success in the coming year. Good luck to everyone. Happy New Year.
Hello, Optmyzr friends. My name is Cory Henke, founder of Variable Media, a paid media agency that focuses on data analytics as well as video. Having known Fred for a few years, seen him at a few conferences, I'm humbled that he would ask me to come on and talk about some of the video trends for 2023. So let's jump in. The first thing that we think about for 2023 in video are all the different ways that you can run video, specific in-feed, vertical, and in between, a variety of different ways that you can display your brand through video content. The three that we will focus on today actually sit in one area, which is vertical video, specifically TikTok and YouTube Shorts. So what's unique about these? In my opinion, it's the scalability as well as the cost, but unique to YouTube Shorts, you do have the value in which you can gather from some of the Google Ads targeting, as well as the way that they cost a YouTube short ad today, which is on a cost per view. Users who spend at least 30 seconds with a short that's longer than 30 seconds, or completion on a short that's less than 30 seconds. I think a true value when compared to some of the other vertical video, where it starts at 3 seconds, or potentially at the start of a video. The other thing that when we think about vertical videos to compare Reels, TikTok, Shorts across a variety of different variables that I think make sense for a brand. And so where should a brand start when thinking about vertical video? In my opinion, it's cost efficiency, audience targeting, the organic impact, as well as how you set up these platforms. You might already have a following on Reels, you might already have a following on YouTube, and that could trend maybe your ability to use that almost immediately. What's unique about these platforms, in my opinion, is that Reels contains shopping. And so you find this integration with product tagging and the ability to check out with e-commerce clients. The next thing, when it comes to TikTok, you end up with a younger audience, a little bit tougher when it comes to attribution of purchases and leads. However, you do have very unique targeting and hashtag targeting, as well as some of the objectives which allow you to target potential followers and people that come to your TikTok page, if that's a place where you might have your content warehouse or where you want to drive people. And then on the YouTube side, this is where they don't necessarily have a placement for this yet. And so we still have to hack our way to be able to get into Shorts inventory. So you're still able to take advantage of some of the unique targeting within YouTube, which would be something like placement targeting, finding different channels or influencers on YouTube where you can target their exact, channel or video And so that's very unique to shorts, but I think it's still early to tell how these three stack up. And that's why they're definitely projections for 2023. Next, I really want to provide you with the fact that vertical video provides the best opportunity for reach, exposure, and conversion across three platforms. So it is the best way that I think you should go about things today when it comes to video. And so for shorts, this is something where we know the least about, but the promise and the power of Google Ads really makes it a must test this year. And we have it active for the majority of our clients today. TikTok is, I think, the platform that has innovated the most in 2022. And I think that continues. It's allowed other platforms like Facebook and Instagram to take note, develop their own product, and also allow some new targeting capabilities that weren't there prior. So I think TikTok on the innovation path is got the longest runway. And then Reels, like I mentioned, their connection to shopping for e-commerce, I think is a huge advantage, but also Reels, I think for other advertisers outside of that, from a reach and engagement standpoint. So definitely can create that awareness that I think some brands are looking for. And ultimately, vertical is what I would say for 2023. And if you consider anything, it's testing across all these different platforms and then comparing and seeing where you might find success. And if you'd rather run something long form, I still think that YouTube skippable is a true advantage for anybody looking for somebody to spend a longer period of time. My name is Cory Henke. Thank you again for your time and have a wonderful day.
Navah Hopkins here, and there were 3 really good questions asked. The first was about the future of PMax, or Performance Max. Now, we all know that in order to currently add any negatives to your PMax campaigns, i.e. maybe protecting your branded ideas or protecting your existing search campaigns, you need to talk to your Google rep. I definitely see them eventually adding in that feature because it's just not sustainable for us to have to talk to them every time. I also do expect that we'll be able to start to rate maybe certain signals. So it might not change anything, but we can maybe say that this was useful or we agree with the signal. The reason why I think that is that there's a lot of customer value emphasis right now in conversion tracking. And so if we're able to report on that, it will be very, very helpful. The next question asked was around collecting first-party data. Now, one of the really interesting things about collecting first-party data is it's essentially a consensual conversation. If you create an experience that people are excited to engage with and they want to share their information with you because they know that you're going to respect it and you're going to give them something useful in return, it's a no-brainer. So essentially think about user behavior when you're asking for cookie consent. Make it an easy to read, easy to understand module. Be very clear about what it is that you're tracking. And on the subject of emails and phone numbers, offers are really helpful. Gamification is really, really helpful. But the most important thing is that you're not annoying the user in collecting that information. So as a general rule of thumb, the technical time frame is 5 to 8 seconds before you ask for anything or do any pop-ups. That's for cumulative layout shift or CLS. However, I would actually encourage you to wait maybe 20, even 30 seconds. And the reason for that is that the human mind needs time to process and take things in. You also don't want to get in the way of an engaged session. You might have a perfect user, but if you annoy them and put things right up in front, they aren't able to really engage. Future of the keyword. So here's the thing. I've been thinking that keywords were going to die and just fade into nothingness for the past maybe 3-4 years, and they're still here. Essentially with close variants taking more and more and more control, audiences being prevalent, PMax on the rise, which really does not use any keywords at all. So here's the thing with keywords. Keywords are signals, just like audiences are signals. And what's really fascinating is that broad match allows for more signals than phrase and exact. So I really don't think the idea of semantic search is viable anymore if you're building account structure off of that. But I do think the idea of giving Google signals, and this is true within PMax campaigns, you can build keyword lists as signals, not as semantic search. So I do think that keywords as ideas and keyword concepts and keyword champions will still exist, but they're not going to be the main lever that we pull, and they haven't really been for a long time. What will be the main lever audiences for sure, which is why that first party data question is important, that you can have that customer match list, upload, keep that as a core audience, but also being mindful we may have to release control a little bit and lean into the automatic signals, provided that we use negative keywords. I don't ever see negative keywords going away, because those are our protectors, those are our guardrails. But keywords as active targets, I do see them fading in significance, particularly for PMAX. If you are still running traditional search campaigns, obviously you're still using keywords. And in those cases, please just make sure that you're accounting for the fact that close variants apply for regular keywords, but not for negative. So if you're building account structures from way back when semantic search reigned supreme, you really are going to have to do some cleanup. But if you've been building for the way keywords have been behaving right now, honestly, whether you make keywords you're guiding light, audiences you're guiding light, it's essentially the same thing at this point. You're putting in signals that are going to drive profit. Cheers.
Hello, this is Jon Kagan with 9 Rooftops, and I'm here to give you my quick perspective on 2023 in search. Honestly, based off the obscenely high growth that we started seeing for CPCs in April of this year, I am expecting our Q1 of 2023 to be astronomically high cost search. Growth levels that we've probably never seen before. Just to get the same amount of traffic we previously had, we'll probably be spending 25%, up to 25% more just to get the same amount. It's a little bit discouraging, but we have seen just obscene growth in the costs for that one. So when you look at year one or Q1 from a year-over-year perspective, you're likely going to see a pretty hefty growth in costs, well beyond what you typically deal with. When I next look at it, what does it mean for Q2, 3, and 4? I have started to see the CPC start to flatten out. So we do expect the growth levels to be at 2 to 5% going forward, but it's still going to be a little bit tough on it. The demand, however, shouldn't change. We've still seen demand remain rather constant and flat. There's still that desire for the shop, and we really correlate demand when it goes hand in hand with unemployment rates. The higher the unemployment rate, the lower the demand, and we have not yet seen that. So fingers crossed that we don't see an uptick in unemployment levels. We should still expect to see the same level of demand, and then it's just us having to deal with our costs. Google's Performance Max may be an answer to help reduce costs. We have seen initial signs that their CPCs may be cheaper, but the entire platform is much of a black box, so it's really hard to decipher if it's going to help us out in the long run or not.
My prediction in 2023 is going to be related to vertical video. A question we get a lot from clients who are interested in doing more vertical video is, well, which one should I choose, Joe? TikTok or YouTube Shorts? Well, the ideal answer would be both, but I can only choose one. And for many of my clients who have mid to smaller budgets, I would say YouTube Shorts is the better route. And here's my prediction of why YouTube Shorts is going to be a silent killer in 2023. First, YouTube Shorts provides you with YouTube Analytics. And YouTube Analytics is a great tool to get really good insights on which videos are engaging the most and which ones are leading to additional actions like subscribers and conversions. We can get better information to create better content. Second, YouTube Shorts is a great way to boost your subscriber count. And when we see subscriber counts grow, that really helps our overall organic YouTube efforts, as well as anything else that we are doing on the channel. As we get more organic growth, then we start to see it impact other video things like the audiences that we can create for advertising. So you can see if you grow your YouTube Shorts, you can really help your overall video channels. And another thing that I've been hearing rumbling in the weeds is that YouTube Shorts is going to expand the time length. Currently, they're locked at 1 minute, and if they increase the length closer to the 3 minutes like we can do on TikTok, we can really see how we can add more watch time. And now that ads are starting to become on Shorts, you can get more revenue coming from YouTube Shorts, and it might be a bigger way for YouTube to compete with TikTok.
Hey, PPC Town Hall, this is Mike Ryan. I'm head of e-commerce insights at Smarter E-commerce, and let's race through a few predictions for next year. I think there's going to be a lot more insights coming to Google Ads and the Merchant Center. So we've seen some improvements to the kind of reporting that's available for PMAX. This will continue. We've also seen a lot of really interesting reports come to the Merchant Center, better bestseller reporting, the customer experience scorecard, pricing insights. This is a reflection also of Google's shopping graph, which is a knowledge graph for product information. It's very important for Google, and they'll continue manifesting that in the Merchant Center. Regarding PMAX becoming a little bit more mature on the market, I think we'll see three camps. These are like hackers, the people who want to keep trying to find novel ways of using PMAX, maybe in ways it wasn't intended. We'll see harmonizers who are going to focus on what is the role of PMAX in an account, like how do all the different campaign types really play together in the best way. And we're going to see more people start walking away. Regarding like the economic picture, I see that, you know, a possible upside of a downturn is cooling demand, which could start to gradually straighten out the supply chain whiplash that we've had from shortage to surplus, and also maybe cool off inflation a little bit. And last word on a kind of a big tech vision is with this whole generative AI topic, GPT, and all this stuff, OpenAI. I think what people don't necessarily realize yet is that's barely productized yet. And we're going to start seeing marketing technology get layered on here. We'll also see mass consumer products, which will offer new ways to search and even new alternatives to search. So the implications are just huge. Those are the things I'm watching right now. Let's see how it turns out. Thanks for having me.